Hello everyone, Kit here, back with another video. If you guys, I'm back to you with part 6 or part 7 of the Sheriff's Handbook. Once again, I'll link this down in the description box below, along with our email. Email us at themoneyjibbo.com for private consultation. Without further ado, let's pick up where we left off. Have been created, or the emoluments whereof shall have been increased during such time. No person holding any office under the United States shall be a member of either house during his continuance in office. Section 7. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it become a law, must be presented to the President of the United States. If he approve, he shall sign it, but if not, he shall return it, with his objections to that House in which he shall have originated, who shall enter the objections at large on the journal, and proceed to reconsider it. If after such reconsideration 2/3 of that House shall agree to pass the bill, it shall be sent together with the objections to the other House, by which it shall likewise be reconsidered, and if approved by 2/3 of that House, it shall become a law. But in all such cases, the votes of both Houses shall be determined by yeas and nays, and the names of the persons voting for and against the bill shall be entered on the journal of each House respectively. If any bill shall not be returned by the President within 10 days, Sundays accepted, after it shall be presented to him, the same shall be a law, like in manner as if he had signed it, unless the Congress by their adjournment prevent its return, in which case it shall not be a law. Every order, resolution, or vote to which the concurrence of the Senate and House of Representatives may be necessarily, except on a question of adjournment, I shall be presented to the President of the United States, and before the name shall take effect, shall be approved by him, or being disapproved by him, shall be repassed by 2/3 of the Senate and House of Representatives, according to the rules and limitations prescribed in the case of a bill. Section 8, Clause 1. The Congress shall have the power to lave and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imports, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. Clause 2. To borrow money on the credit of the United States. Clause 3. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states with the Indian tribes. Clause 4. To establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. Clause 5. To coin money, regulate the value thereof and a foreign coin, and fix a standard of weights and measures. Clause 6. To provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States. Clause 7. To establish post offices and post roads. Clause 8. To promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to the respective writings and discoveries. Clause 9. To constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. Clause 10. To define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations. Clause 11. To declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Clause 12. To raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. Clause 13. To provide and maintain a navy. Clause 14. To make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces. Clause 15. To provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. Clause 16. To provide organization, arming, and disciplining the militia and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. Clause 17. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district, not exceeding 10 miles square, as may, by cession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state, in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. And clause 18. To make all laws which shall be necessary for proper and for, shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department or officer thereof. Comment: the aforesaid 18 clauses in Article 1, Section 9 is the extent of Congress' power to legislate. Congress has no further legislative power outside these 18 clauses and is also restricted by the Bill of Rights in Article 1, Section 9. Congress has no power to legislate our behavior or license our rights. Section 9, Clause 1. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person. Clause 2. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended, unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. Clause 3. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. Clause 4. No capitalization or other direct tax or direct tax shall be laid, unless in proportion to the census or enumeration therein before directed to be taken. Comment: Clause 4 forbids income tax. Tax on income derived from property was the equivalent of a direct tax on the income producing property itself, and must be appointed in accordance with provisions of Article 1 of the Constitution. Home Mutual Insurance Company versus Commissioner of Internal Revenue. Congress cannot by any definition of income in this case, may adopt, conclude that matter, since it cannot by legislation alter the Constitution from which alone it derives its power to legislate, and within those limitations alone that power can be lawfully expressed. Isner versus Macumber. The 16th Amendment does not justify the taxation of persons or things previously immune. It was intended only to remove all occasions for any appointment of income taxes among the states. It does not authorize a tax on salary. Evans versus Gore. In numerous cases where the IRS has sought enforcement of its summons pursuant to statute, courts have held that a taxpayer may refuse production of personal books and records by assertion of his privilege against self-incrimination. Held versus Philippot. Penalize the failure to give a statement which is self-incriminatory is beyond the power of Congress. United States versus Lombardo. Income means gains profit from property served from capital. However, invested or employed, income is not a wage or compensation for any type of labor. Stabler versus United States. Clause 5. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. Clause 6. No preference shall be given by any regulation or of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another. Nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obliged to enter, clear, or pay duties in another. Clause 7. No money shall be drawn from the treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office or of profit trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title, or any kind of whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state. Section 10. No state shall enter any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any impost or duties on imports or exports, except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws. And the net produce of all duties and imposts laid by any state on imports or exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and the control of the Congress. No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any duty of tutelage, keep troops or ships in war of time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state, or with a foreign power, or engage in war, unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. Article 2. Executive Power. Section 1. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the Vice President chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives, to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senior representative or person holding an office or of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed as an elector. The electors shall meet in their representative states and vote by ballot for two persons, of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves, and they shall make a list of all the persons voted for, and of the number of votes each, in which they shall sign and certify, transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes shall be the President. If such number may be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if there be more than one who have such majority and have an equal of number of votes, then the House of Representatives shall immediately choose by ballot one of them for President. And if no person shall have a majority, from the 5 highest on the list, the said House shall, like in a matter, choose the President. But in choosing the President, the vote shall be taken by the states, the representation from each state having one vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. In every case, after the choice of the person having the greatest number of votes of the electors shall be the Vice President. But if there should remain two or more who have equal votes, the Senate shall choose from them by ballot the Vice President. The Congress may determine the time of choosing the electors, and the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. No person except a natural born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of the President. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. Comment. Natural born is anyone born to parents that are both U.S. citizens at the time of birth. If one parent is not a citizen, the child is not natural born. The reason for this is that the child will grow up in a household with a divided allegiance. In the case of the removal of the vice president from office, of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of the said office, the same shall devolve on the Vice President, and the Congress may by law provide for the case of a removal, death, resignation, or inability, both of the President and Vice President, declaring what officer shall then act as President. Such officer shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or a president shall be elected. The president shall, at the stated times, receive for his services a compensation which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected, and he shall not receive within that period any other emolument from the United States or any of them. Before he enter on the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation: I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States, and will do to the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Section 2. The President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and the militia of several states when called into the actual service of the United States. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of the respective offices, and he shall have power to grant reprise and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the state to make treaties, provide 2/3 of the senators present concur, and he shall nominate, and by with the advice and consent of the Senate, shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law. But the Congress may by law vest the appointment for such inferior officers as they think proper in the President alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. The President shall have the power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate, granted commissions which shall expire at the end of the next session. He shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the state of the Union, and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses or either of them, and in any case disagreement between them with respect to the time of adjournment, and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may on extraordinary occasions convene both houses or either of them, and in case of disagreement between them with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and shall commission all the officers of the United States. Section 4. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 3. Justicial Power. Section 1. The justicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges of both the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Comment. The inferior courts are federal district courts which are subservient to the one Supreme Court. District court decisions cannot be used as precedents because they do not have the authority to interpret the law. They must rule within American jurisprudence and the rulings of the United States Supreme Court. Judges in bad behavior can be removed from office by Congress through impeachment or by the people through indictment. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equality arising under this Constitution. The laws of the United States and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state, or citizens thereof, and foreign states, citizens and subjects. Comment. Cases in law are jury trials. All criminal infamous trials must be jury trials in which there are no appeals except in the course of common law. Equity cases are trust cases decided by a judge and have an appellate process. In all cases affecting the ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all of the cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction both as the law and in fact, with such exceptions, under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury. Such trial will be held in the state where the said crimes shall have been committed, but when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such a place or places as the Congress may by law have directed. Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted. Article 6, Section 1. Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state, and the Congress may by general laws prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved and the effort thereof. Comment. The foreign statutes are to have force and effect to which they are entitled in home state. Fly High versus Missouri. Section 2. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. A person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime, who shall flee from justice and be found in another state, shall on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled be delivered up to be removed from having state jurisdiction of the crime. No person held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping unto another, shall, in consequence of any law or regulation therein, be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on a claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. Section 3. New states may be admitted by the Congress into this Union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, nor any state be formed by the junction of two or more states, parts of states, without the consent of the legislators of the states concerned as well as the Congress. The Congress shall have the power to dispose and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory of other property belonging to the United States, and nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States or of any particular state. Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in its union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. Comment. A republican government is one in which the powers of sovereignty are vested in the people and are exercised to the people through a constitution and their consent through committees of safety and juries. The everyday affairs are carried out by elected representatives bound by the chains of the constitution, to whose powers are specifically delegated. Article 5. The Congress, whenever two-thirds of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislators, and two-thirds of the several states shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution. When ratified by the legislators of three-fourths of the several states, or by conventions in three-fourths thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that no amendment shall be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses in the ninth section of the first article, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. Comment: the word suffrage means the casting of a vote. Prior to the 17th Amendment, the Constitution provided for senators to be chosen by state legislatures, thereby giving power to the states while the people elected congressmen to represent them. Not only was the 17th Amendment not ratified, it removed the sovereignty of the states and thereby upset the checks and balances of power. Having two houses, one controlled by the sovereign people and the other controlled by the vested sovereign state, allowed for the people to trump the state and the state to trump the people. Many unconstitutional acts by Congress, administration, and the judiciary would have been prevented if the states were not clipped of their sovereignty by the unconstitutional 17th Amendment. Article 6. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be valid against the United States under this Constitution as work under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary are notwithstanding. Supremacy clause, thus the particular phraseology of the Constitution of the United States confirms and strengthens the principle, supposed to be essential to all written constitutions, that a law repugnant to the Constitution is void, and that courts as well as other departments are bound by that instrument. Marbury versus Madison. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive justicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Article 7. The ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states so ratifying the same. Done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America the 12th, in witness thereof. We have hereunto subscribed our names: George Washington, President, G. Washington, President and Deputy from Virginia, New Hampshire; John Langdon, Nicholas Gilman, Massachusetts; Nathaniel Gorham, Rufus King, Connecticut; Samuel Johnson, Roger Sherman, New York; Alexander Hamilton, New Jersey; Livingston, David Burley; Patterson, Jonah Dayton, Pennsylvania; B. Franklin, Thomas Milfin, Morris, Geo, Clymer, Theo, Simmons, Jared Insall, James Wilson, Morris, Delaware; Reed, Gunning Melford, John Dickinson, Richard Bassett, Jacob Broom, Maryland, James McHenry, Day of St. Thomas Jennifer, Daniel Carroll, Virginia, John Blair, James Madison Jr., North Carolina. Alright guys, I'm going to end this part off here. Once again, I'll leave a link to this down in the description box below, along with email. Your email is at theminds@gmail.com for our consultation. I'll see you guys next video. Have a nice day.